Alice Paul,
and the women's suffrage movement by Kenasyn, Powell,
and Dani Grunden.
Alice Paul once said, "There will never be a new world order until women are a part of it." Alice Paul had been a part of women's suffrage since she was a child. Alice was raised in a Quaker home. People around her raised her to believe in Quaker principles. Paul learned Quaker traditions from her family and friends when she was younger. Lucy Burns was also a woman suffragette who had a pretty big impact on her life. With Burns, Alice joined NASA and organized the Silent Sentinels. Lucy was by Paul's side, helping to form a new group, Congressional Union for Women's Suffrage, the Cuffs. She also had help from Woodrow Wilson. Alice encountered both triumph and tragedy. She went through some bad times in jail. When she held the hunger strike, she would refuse to eat, so they fed her raw eggs in a feeding tube. It caused many health problems down the road in her life. Paul went to many colleges, including New York School of Philanthropy, University of Pennsylvania, Swarthmore, etc. She enrolled again to the University of Pennsylvania. She graduated Swarthmore in 1905 and in 1910. She got a degree in science and biology in 1905. Later in the future, she was a member of many groups, including the Silent Sentinels. She participated in the women's suffrage movement, hunger strikes, campaigns, and many more significant events. She was chairman of the Congressional Committee. Also, she was chairman of the Women's Research Foundation. In the 1920s, NASA combined efforts with the NWP to win the right for women's equality. Alice Paul's actions helped bring about the passage of the 19th Amendment, which was made in the 1920s. The 19th Amendment was allowing women to have the right to vote. Down the road, Alice Paul had many other jobs which had a huge impact on where we are today. Alice went to England to do settlement work. Also, during her stay, she was jailed 3 times for suffragist agitation. The suffragists were harassed and then arrested. When Alice was in England, she learned militant and defiant tactics employed by British suffragists. She was a social reformer, lawyer, and a political strategist. She devoted her whole life for equality for women. She led the militant wing for the suffrage movement and organized the famed suffrage parade in Washington, D.C. Also, she was a militant activist and suffragette. Alice Paul was the architect of some outstanding political achievements. At the age 37, Paul earned a law degree and wrote the first version of Equal Rights Amendment in 1922. Alice Paul affected her life so much when she joined the women's suffrage movement.
In 1916, Alice made an effort to change the status of a woman in America by starting the NWP. Alice capped a 4-year campaign for the federal women's suffrage amendment. The work of the suffragists helped persuade many Americans for women's equality. The protest outside the White House lasted until November. A bunch of women suffragists were sent to prison for being activists in the movement. When people heard of the brutal things of what was happening to women in prison, there was outrage. When the outrage happened, it ultimately strengthened the public opinion in favor for the constitutional amendment extending all women's rights to vote. These protests and their aftermath are the most recognizable events in the movement. The NWP had only 50,000 people compared to 2 million members claimed by its parent organization. They had very creative publicity stunts. The Congress had finally passed a federal women's suffrage amendment to the U.S. Constitution. All the suffragists were the people who changed the people's minds about the women's right. Alice had dedicated her whole life to women's suffrage, which is why women are where they are today. Also, she dedicated her whole life so people would not be judged by their gender or race. Women should keep fighting for rights, which men already have. Women need to follow the steps of Alice Paul so women can get more rights, which the men already have. Alice Paul is such an extraordinary person. We need to follow her legacy in the workplace to get paid the same amount of many men do. Women need to keep fighting for what they believe in.